I heard you like magic. I've got a wand and a rabbit. It's VGC, the video game podcast with me, Jordan Midler, Chris Skillion, and Andy Robinson. This week, I'm under arrest in Japan, and Ubisoft is doing weird stuff. Who'd have guessed? But first, how we doing, folks? Andy, welcome back. First time in, 40 years you've been on this podcast?
I know, it's been a while, hasn't it? You keep getting all your mates from across the games media to go on my podcast. I don't receive any invites. I just see them when they go up. And it just sounds like a load of people, like a load of hoodlums in Glasgow arguing outside a kebab shop.
Yeah, well, that's very much the USP of this this podcast. Chris,
clearly,
how are you?
I'm good. I'm tired. Although slightly rejuvenated after returning from my holiday. Just a wee caravan trip. It's been a while.
Just a wee caravan. That looked palatial.
It was a nice caravan.
You had like a 5-story caravan.
I think I have, that silver tier at Haven. It goes higher.
Your caravan is made out of bricks and mortar.
It only shakes a wee bit when it's windy.
A small elevator.
Exactly. But that was nice. It was very a pleasant experience.
What is the point of a caravan if it's not pokey? Like, what's the joy?
I know. But I mean, the kid got a kick out of it because it's still new to her. She doesn't realize how low the quality can go. So to her,
yeah.
so to her, it was still like, oh, this is quite novel.
So were you?
No, I was the silver tier. So I didn't.
Oh, mate, my mum and dad got gold tier one year. It genuinely nicer than my house. Like, it had a kitchen. It had a kitchen with like an island.
Oh, yeah, we never had that.
Like a little outside patio and
luxury.
Things like that.
That's luxury.
But,
yeah,
luxury.
I mean, it doesn't matter what tier of caravan you pay for. The entertainment standard remains the same throughout.
Yeah.
So that was quite.
What is it? Is it still like people standing up on stage singing Agadoo?
Yeah, I mean, one night they did the pantomime, which was Aladdin, and it was like lots of kind of topical humor, which fell so flat, and it was like I felt for them because they're trying their best, but like the evil queen came out and went, oh hello, I see Primark has a sale, and just like total tumbleweed because that everyone there, ourselves included, did actually shop at Primark. It's like that's not a joke. But yeah, stuff like that. Like Aladdin came out and being polite, he didn't fit the traditional standards one would expect from a leading man role, and to the point that the kid looked up.
That sounds like a lot of effort for a man.
Well, the kid looked at the kid, looked up to me and said, "That's not Aladdin." I was like, "She gets it." Like, so we just spent the rest of it like quietly to each other, taking the piss out of it, and that was like wonderful father-daughter bonding.
Was he a white man?
He was a white man. He was a white man.
Okay, good.
Much kind of. I don't think he came from that region where Aladdin is usually set.
Agrabah.
He didn't. I don't think he had an Agrabah passport.
Queues are a nightmare at immigration if you've not got an Agrabah passport.
You're preaching at the converted. But yeah, but no, I mean, it was a fun wee trip. I heartily recommend a Haven holiday. TM other caravan tiers are available.
I'm sure whoever's at the marketing department at Haven is really looking for that VGC podcast endorsement.
After that,
Andy, you keep buying all the shite off Facebook Marketplace. What was this? What was this big gold thing?
I like to call it my mid-year crisis. Well, it's not quite mid-year, but like mid-fun year, like the transition bit from when the sun comes out and you're okay to go outside again. And I like to transition from, just being locked indoors and focusing on being good, and then start going a bit berserk.
You're just desperate for the
Spending
Euros to
20
start.
quid on like 40-year-old packs of trading cards and things like that go on a shelf, and I feel good about for exactly that moment.
Mate, I'm all about that. Yeah. I wish that the packs of Pokemon cards that were that old were that cheap. I'd have all of them. I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be in the poorhouse.
I managed to find. So I've been doing some rummaging. I don't know. Just started like doing a bit of rummaging, thinking, oh, what little trinkets have I got? I went through my business cards and lanyards and just all the stuff that you chuck out in the job that we do. And I actually found some value in them. I was like, oh, some of these are quite good. I've put them. I hung my lanyards on the wall, which almost taken my door off the hinges, and just found all sorts of old stuff like these. I've got these 20-year-old Gachapon Mario.
They make the sound effects.
Like kind of sound.
Yeah.
You remember these,
I
didn't you,
got those
Chris?
as
Yeah,
well.
because this was our soundtrack to our office. Just various. Imagine
impressive
that for
that
about
the battery
10
still
years.
lasts as well.
Yeah, it's the only one. That one is the only one. All the Mario Kart ones,
but to be fair, they get a lot of use.
blessingly, have run out of power.
Mine, I've still got.
Like the
I've
old
still
blue
got
shell.
the ones that I used to have on my desk. I used to have wee diorama ones with like NES stuff, and they still work. And Serena found them the other day and just presses them all the time. So it's constantly balloon fight, over and over and over again. It's like.
Do you remember one time? Because in the old Future office, it was open plan, right? So we'd be sat with Official Nintendo magazine, Official Xbox magazine,
PSW for a while.
It was Total Film in the corner. I'm trying to think towards the end. There weren't many left, were there? Do you remember once I played them so much that the Total Film editor just came over and just took it out of my hand?
That was cinema.
I didn't even know. I genuinely didn't even know her.
We get into trouble a few times. I'm sure, I'm sure we've spoken in the past about the Mario Kart sessions and with people actually asking us to tone it down with the C-bombs.
Yeah, there's a whole list of people who think we are absolute pricks from that office for playing Mario Kart.
There was worse, like when Rock Band first
came
out. Official Xbox magazine used to play it every lunchtime, and those drums just went right through my soul. Those Rock Band drums.
Just that.
That's because you weren't playing Mario Kart loud enough, mate.
That's my own fault.
See, this is the environment that I wanted to go into when I was. Yeah,
I do miss it. It was
job,
definitely as much as I enjoy still doing the gig. You're definitely missing that kind of everyone in the
100%. We once got an official warning from, I think it must have been someone in the sales team, because this is when we were on the 5th floor, bigger floor. We got an official warning for shouting the C word as loud. Like someone shouted it as loud as they actually could. Like, ah! That was playing Mario Kart 64, I'm sure. And I know who it was, and I'm not going to dibs him up. But yeah, we got an official warning for that from HR.
Oh, man.
The glory
bring
days.
it back. We have the power to bring it back.
The thing is, as well, this is controversial. Mario Kart 64 isn't even that good. Like but back
no, but
then,
this was pre Wii. So when did Wii come out? I want to say 08, 09, something like that. No, it might have been earlier than that.
Was it Wii 06?
Because the Wii came out in 06, but when did Mario Kart Wii come out?
Oh, right, okay.
I get the feel.
Let's say that, right?
2008,
because it did right 2008. So this is pre 2008 when we were playing Mario Kart 64.
Was it not maybe
console,
did 64 not?
Yeah, you go back to it now. It's aged like.
Did 64 not come out in Virtual Console after Wii? And we moved,
absolutely not.
We decided to play 64 for a change, and it stuck.
Nah, we definitely started playing 64, and then Wii came out.
It was an experience.
Someone's going to prove me wrong.
I don't remember. All the years just kind of merged.
Telling you.
Yeah,
we didn't have an N64.
It was definitely on the Wii, but that's what makes me think, because we were playing it long into, like, after we'd moved down to the 3rd floor, so that was long after Mario Kart Wii came out. So there must have been a time where 64 was chosen over Wii.
Well,
sorry, this is so.
If
nobody
you worked
cares.
with these idiots 10 years ago, please eliminate us.
If you put in a complaint for me shouting the word, or allegedly, it wasn't.
We'll do a reunion episode.
Yeah.
Okay. Couple of points of business. Chris, you have something to show the class?
Yeah, you told me you had a Monster energy drink to review, so I thought I'd bring one as well. So I've got the new Bad Apple edition of Monster Juice, which says, tempted to try, we hope so. Juiced Monster Bad Apple isn't like anything you've ever had before. I mean, you would hope not. Forget your regular apple juice. Bad Apple is so good, it's almost worth getting kicked out of Eden over, which presumably is the Garden of Eden and not Eden nightclub in Coatbridge. So we'll see. What have you got? Because you've
very retro. It's got a lassie.
It's got a lassie on the can, which is like the old Tenants used to have a lassie on the can in the 80s. I'll just give you a wee taste test.
Yeah, decant it. I have actually tried this one and made it into my local corner shop.
It's fizzy apple juice. What more do you want to know?
It's fizzy apple juice, folks. It's appetizer up here.
Very much.
I got some Monster last
Did
week.
you?
Now that you say that, the original was my favorite.
Yeah.
I got that, and I got some pink mango
that's like
punch.
Is that
Pacific
the one
Punch.
you put in the chat? Yeah,
that's a good one.
I have
Oh, here we go.
Monster
You always get that
Reserve.
shite.
The reserve.
Orange
Right.
dreamsicle.
Taken out of a cask from 400 years ago.
Cap Lord Monsters
The
Reserve
Thane of Monster.
Boutique.
So it starts with the same spiel from the last time I had Reserve, where when it says Monster Reserve is straight up original Monster and an amazing new flavor, thus
That's
not
not the
being
original
straight up
Monster.
original Monster. So Monster Reserve has an intense but smooth, easy drinking, creamy orange sherbet
Easy
flavor.
drinking. Well, it didn't have razor blades in it.
And of course, it's for athletes, musicians, anarchists, students, road warriors,
Oh, one of them's dead. One of the Road
Metalheads.
Warriors is dead.
famously, geeks, hipsters, and bikers.
I mean, you're not selling me on it.
That's this podcast, the geek, the hipster, and the biker. Let me get a drink of it.
No, here we go. Jordan is now drinking.
Oh my god, it smells like medicine.
He's now drinking the Monster Reserve dreamsicle flavor.
It tastes like it's a bar product. It tastes like orange
really?
cream soda.
Mm-hmm. That's a shame. For like 3 times the price.
It was only £1 because I got it for my dodgy local shop that sells all monsters for £1 for whatever reason. Can't possibly be making money on it, so they must.
You would
steal
check
them.
your best before on that then.
Best before when Obama was president. But yeah, that I wouldn't give that the reserve label personally. But we persevere.
We should probably talk about games or something because it's been like fucking 3 months since we started.
I know for a fact that the people that like this podcast, when we start talking about games, they're like, "Can we just get back to the Road Warriors?" Anyway, story number 1: Jabba the Hutt is locked behind a season pass in Star Wars Outlaws, or is he? Ubisoft responded to people being very, very angry about this. To clarify, Jabba the Hutt and the Hutt Cartel are one of the main syndicates in Star Wars Outlaws and will be part of the experience for everyone who purchases the game, regardless of edition. This was in response to the fact that there's a special mission you only get with the Season Pass or the mega expensive edition. Chris, this is silly, isn't
It's
it?
daft. I don't understand why they did it because
It's Jabba the Hutt. It's the man.
But I mean, to be fair, like, they then clarified later that Jabba the Hutt's still in it. You still, even if you get the $70 edition, you still get Jabba the Hutt
But
stuff.
this is the mission when you get punchy.
I just don't get why they would do this because it's just a bad look. It was totally unnecessary. It's like it's a single mission, from what I can gather, that they've just decided we'll take this out the main game and put it behind the season pass. And everyone's like, why did you do that? We would happily just bought the game with the season pass, knowing that there's more content to come. All you're doing is annoying people who were going to buy the $70 one. It's totally, I don't get it. It's just a pointless decision.
It's also such a small bit of content to like hold off. Like, who's like, oh well, I was going to spend 70, but maybe I'll spend the 120 on the mega.
For all we know,
version.
there's like 60 missions in the game, and this is one of them. And it's like, okay, well, I've still got 59, but it's like, I just don't understand. I don't know if the.
I think you've probably answered your own questions between the two of you, right? Like, I'd probably argue that number one, the outrage that we see on the internet is probably minuscule next to the amount of money they'll make by convincing people to spend 110 quid or $110, whatever it is. And on the flip side, on why did they decide to do it, it's probably a pretty insignificant part of content. I mean, I'd say, like, to your point, Chris, that it's probably that they've messaged this quite poorly initially. You know, like that it's not the Jabba the Hutt mission; it's one of them. You know, or an extra bit. It's, you know, as we've seen, like the amount of money that games cost these days. They kind of need to do what they have to upsell people to these editions. You know what? Like, I mean, Ubisoft is better than this. I know they are, because they actually have marketing people like embedded on the development teams. That's always been like their secret sauce. I imagine it's probably a bit more widespread than that now. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, right, shit, you know, we need something for the some perks. What can you give
Yeah.
us? Well, I don't think that would actually be the case with Ubisoft because they're
The thing is, like,
more,
I understand. Usually,
on the front
when
foot.
companies do an addition that comes with a season pass, they'll add something in as well on day one, because obviously a season pass is just an IOU, and given the choice between a £70 game or a £100 game that comes with a season pass of content promised in the future, a lot of people probably go for the $70 one. So the season pass will usually have something else that you get at day one.
Yeah.
But it's usually like a fancy outfit or special guns or whatever. So
Or like perks or stuff.
it's unusual for it to be like a mission, and I think that's what's making people go, "This is weird," because that's a mission feels like part of the narrative that you're removing, as opposed to something cosmetic. Because it's not a practice that's uncommon. It's just the specific content they've chosen to kind of separate from it is just an odd decision, I think, and it just is bad optics, even though.
Yeah.
I do think Ubisoft kind of unfairly get the flack for a lot of this
they're not
stuff.
alone.
And that's I say unfairly. They get more than everyone else, let's say, and that's usually down to the fact that they, exactly to your point, like they message it quite poorly.
Mm-hmm.
They always have done. Maybe it's a French thing. Like, you know, but it's true. I can go back 20 years and they're still doing this. Like, you know, oh, you mean there's no female characters in the multiplayer Assassin's Creed? I remember driving past in a taxi the LA Convention Center, and there's 4 geezers on the side of it. And I was with Kes McDonald, and she went immediately. She went, "There's no women." I went, "Fucking hell!" Like immediately.
Yeah.
Like, so you only need one person to see that to clock on. But the messaging, do you remember the furore around that?
They're hard to animate.
You know, they dug themselves a massive hole. Oh, hard to remember, blah, blah. But the real answer was, there aren't 4 men in the game. There's 1 man. You all play as the same guy. They just put those skins on so the other players look different to you. Everyone plays the same. Do you see what I mean? Stuff like this where they just like... I remember we had a preview once where... I can't remember who it was, but it was a great preview of one of their games, and he said they put their foot in it more than Prince Philip. You know, rest
God rest him.
Peace, which was true, right? And this is that case again. If Activision are doing this, I don't think there's much of a ish. It's almost like, I guess they try and have their cake and eat it, because they're usually quite transparent. Ubisoft, they're nice. The nice French Canadian guys, they're all like fairly lovely, and then they do like this horrible corporate stuff like this, and it feels jarring. Whereas, you know what you're getting with Activision, right? Where they're just like, yeah, you have to pay 110 quid for the King Kong fist skin, you know, and that's how it is. It's off.
It's just a.
We're not going to apologize. We're not going to be your friend.
It's a weird situation.
Like, that's where we're at.
When I saw this, I was like, oh, surely this is just like an early access thing. So I feel like a lot of games do that now, where like if you get the Ultimate Edition, you get these mid-game weapons like right at the start, so it makes it easier. I was like, oh, surely this just unlocks eventually. But as you say, it could be no Ubisoft. It could be, oh, Jabba's got this big tower over here. Drive over, kill a few guys, and you get the Jabba the Hutt skin.
That
and
comes down to the messaging again, is because they say, oh,
they have to come out and go, it's pish, don't
say
worry,
this
it's
Jabba,
a crap mission.
this exclusive Jabba mission at launch, they say, which implies that 3 months down the line they'll be selling it for $5 if you don't want the season pass.
Yeah, they do. They are
but it's like
that.
the way the internet is, you need to be. They won't say, oh, by the way, you can buy it for $5 down the line, because people just say, okay, well, I'm not going to buy the season pass, and I'll just wait. So they can explicitly say it, but it creates so much confusion as a result of them not being able to explicitly say it, that it becomes a mess. And it's just.
I think it's worth emphasizing as well that someone who has worked on games, I know this to be true. That game's done now. It's finished. It's probably been finished for ages. If that game's, when's it coming out? August
30.
August. That game's done, right? So to give you a comparison, our 15-man game Ukulele came out in March. It was done before Christmas. It was done because you need to lock the thing down. You need to spend at least 6 months on this thing. You know, kind of just searching for bugs. No one is allowed to add any new content whatsoever because you add more bugs, right? Like we left music, like a whole original music on the shelf and stuff, because putting it in was too much of a risk of creating more bugs. You know, that's how it is. So when they say, oh yeah, we're making this for day one, that is a legitimate thing. I'm not saying that the content definitely isn't already in there, but I'm saying is they have an excuse because they do legitimately. It's not like they can work all the way up to putting stuff. I mean, some games do, right? Some games do, and they're the ones that come in hot, and they usually buggy as shit at launch. But there is what I'm saying is there is a scenario where they're like, right, the game's done, and they're now bug testing it for launch. Now we're going to make something else that we can put in for day one for them.
Yeah, it's video games, eh?
Video
Technology.
games. I just hope that it's not massively expensive, Chris. See this 40 years of WrestleMania pack for WWE 2K24. I was looking at it the other day and I was like, well, they do the thing where if you don't have it on the roster, the characters are blacked out. I was like, oh, I kind of just want a full roster. It's 5 alternate skins. How much could it be? £18. £18 for 5 alternate
you also
attires.
Get,
not even
you also
new
get the WrestleMania arena, which isn't in it yet. And even if you buy it, like some of them characters are still blacked out because they're in my faction mode and have to be unlocked and can't be unlocked yet. So,
Stupid. I've been playing a lot of that game.
Well.
Anyway, a Japanese Pokemon Scarlet and Violet hacker has been arrested for selling modified Pokemon. This is according to NHK News and Automaton, because in Japan it's illegal to sell modified save files and distribute edited data. The man had been using a special tool to modify the abilities of Pokemon in the game. This helps players who are trying to play competitively. The report says that the man was selling Pokemon for $85 and 6 Pokemon for 25 quid. That's a nice deal, isn't it, Chris? Would you take that?
No. it's like no. It is a weird one. It's just a weird.
I'm going to defend this man. And I'm sure this will get me no pals. But the current state of how you prepare competitive Pokemon is ridiculous. Like, it's equivalent to, in Ultimate Team, these pro players have to buy their teams, so they spend thousands and thousands of pounds on these teams. The process to get a competitive team Pokemon takes hours and hours and hours and hours, and they've made it easier, but for a quote unquote esport, it's ludicrous, and that's why people sell like modified Pokemon, because the meta changes on a dime, and it's like, oh, this team that I spent 3 weeks trying to get is useless now. And also, there's a weird situation going on in the Pokemon competitive scene where when you take your Switch to a Pokemon event, they have a tool to check if you've got any fake Pokemon. However, the tool is inconsistent. It's like a lie detector test. It's only right like 80% of the time. So legitimate Pokemon are getting flagged. So people are like, these guys that have bought their Pokemon are like competing at like big championships, and me, Johnny Napeday, is getting flagged. Like, it's a mess. I think jail's a bit much for this. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like the article says, a violation of the act can lead to a prison sentence of up to 5 years or a fine of up to 32 grand. But it won't be as much as that.
What are you in for?
I know. So selling a bootleg Dragonite. I'm not like fully engulfed in the competitive Pokemon scene or any other competitive esports scene for that matter. But I would have thought in a sport scenario, there would be some sort of option to kind of level the playing field so that it comes down to skill. So surely could the Pokemon company and Nintendo not make a kind of special version of the game designed purely for esports competitive play, where you can choose any Pokemon you want and they're all the same, and then it comes down
they certainly could,
and then at that point you don't need to sit and put 400 hours into the game like sculpting your own Pokemon in your own image. You can just, like, everyone gets to pick from the same pool, and then there can be no complaints over money changing hands or anything, because everyone's on an even footing. But
there is like an argument to say that part of the fun is like training your own Pokemon, but the length of time it takes is like comical. Like, it's not I spent like a night getting this Pokemon, so I spent a week on this one Pokemon, and if I hatched like hundreds of eggs to get this specific nature and these specific starting stats, it's so, and this is it when it was better. It used to be way worse. Like, it used to take people like a month to get a team back in the DS GBA days. Very strange. Chris, who's your favorite Pokemon?
Psyduck.
That's a good choice. I like a Psyduck. They were selling life-size Psyducks at the EUIC. How much do you think a
When
life
you,
size?
when you say
plus
life size,
Psyduck?
that can't be that big because it's just a duck.
Psyduck was massive. Psyduck's like up to your knee,
Just a big duck.
and he's fat. How much do you think he was?
80 quid.
Oh
If I
man,
overshot it, or is it?
no,
Oh no. Oh, how much is it?
$239.99.
Chase yourself. You
For
buy
a
a, you
life
buy,
size.
you buy a real duck for less than that.
But the real duck doesn't know psychic. Andy, who's your favorite Pokemon?
Snorlax.
That's another good choice. Two good.
See, we're old school.
currently-
We're Gen 1 choices.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite Pokemon. It's the most basic bitch answer, but my favorite Pokemon's Charizard. So I understand this compulsion.
So I used to think that I used to be one of those. It was a real I've got old moment when someone called me a Gen 1er.
A Gen 1
as a criticism. You know, when I pointed out that some of the new designs were, I mean, some are definitely absolute piss.
Yeah.
I remember in the office, Chris. Remember the one that it's just basically a set of keys.
Klefki.
Think of that. Like they were clearly like going down the pub with that one. When they, I got one more. Here you go. Like, but then when I did reflect on this young person calling me, branding me with this name, I look back and you do really actually some of the original ones quite basic as well.
Yeah.
Seal. It's a seal.
Yeah. True.
Called Seal.
True. But there did come a point, like Andy says, when you know the guy who's designing them was just like sitting back in the office and going, "What next? What next?" Looked in the corner and saw the bin and just said, "Okay, trubbish." One that is literally just a pile of rubbish. It's like, come on.
Trubbish is a nice guy.
But like, I understand now for the mechanic of the game and for their merchandise machine, they need to keep churning them out.
Yeah.
But it is diminishing returns at some point, right? I mean, there's definitely you could sit down now and like just get a large set of Pokemon where there's like at least 5 different variants of each one.
Yeah. There's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's over 1,000 now. Just add.
And I don't. By the way, I don't mean specific. I mean it's the same idea. Like
Yeah.
a firefish. Well, there's this one and this one and this one and this one. It's just the more they make, the kind of less unique. Do you know? You know what I mean? Like the basic idea, like a ice dragon. Oh,
there's so many of them now that with each new game they should introduce 10 new ones and go really all out.
And they've been working. I mean, I think they've kind of like they can't put the genie in back in the bottle now, can they?
Yeah, it's got.
They've done it. I mean, it was exciting. I mean, as being around for Gold and Silver before they came out, that was super exciting. They're making more Pokemon. Like, and do you know what? In those days as well, like this is a proper pre-internet thing. It was. With the community, we were discovering the Pokemon together. Yeah, it wasn't like now where they all leak or something. Like someone finds them on a napkin, you know. Like Gold and Silver came out in Japan first, and we all imported it. And there's like a thread on NeoGAF or something where we're posting up Pokemon as we find them. Yeah. Like, look at this one. There's a new one.
That is the amazing thing about reviewing those games is I feel like one of the last people on earth that gets to have that experience. Because when I played through Scarlet and Violet, that was constant, and it was just like, oh my god, like this is happening, like old Pokemon getting new evolutions, and you're like, this is.
I mean, that's a conversation worth having because probably a lot of like our readers and readers of other publications don't realise that we get to still have that experience, right? We're blessed to have the white box experience of reviewing these games where we still get real surprises, right? Yeah. I mean, even like the most mediocre of games I'm reviewing, I'll still play to the end, see if I get something cool, just on the odd chance. These days as well, Nintendo gets you the extra secret where you get to play to the end to find out who made it.
Well, Nintendo always sometimes give you, or other publishers do this as well sometimes, but actually mainly other ones do, where they give you the embargo and say, please don't reveal, and then they spoil what happens at the end. And then the embargo, oh, cheers, mate. You know, I was still going to play this. It's like, oh, okay, well, I won't. Thanks. Absolute bastards.
But there are now 1,025 Pokemon.
That's about 1,000 too many.
I think I'm obviously like an absolute Pokemon psychotic. I think I could name every Pokemon up until about generation 6 and 7. That's when it starts to get like hazy for me. But
I'll tell you what's an impressive video you can look up on YouTube. Mr. Cerebi, Joe Merrick.
Oh, Joe.
Once did a video where he rhymed off every Pokemon in Pokédex order from start to finish.
Wow.
That's an impressive video to behold. But yeah,
Joe's a good boy.
He's a
So
good
Joe
lad.
at EUIC. They're still making good designs of Pokemon. Sure, it ebbs and flows, but there are some designs in Scarlet and Violet that are like they could happily
Power
sit in
World.
the first couple of generations and Power World. Ah, Pokemon. Free my mans for selling the hacked Pokemon. Very quickly before the break, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth doesn't seem to be doing so hot, according to Daniel Ahmad. It's underperforming sales-wise. He says it's selling about half of what Remake sold in the same time frame and looks to have a weaker tail. For context, when Remake was released in April 2020, the PS4 had over 100 million units sold, and the PS5 currently has just over 50. Is that all it's down to, Andy? Or...
Well, I mean, that's the theme of this year, right? Is they've released it on one console, and now they're not really where they expected. I mean, how many PlayStation 4s were there, by the way, in 2020 when that game came out? Over 100 million, I'd say, without checking. So,
yeah, just over 100 million.
double the number of PlayStation 5s there are. You know, this type of release is going to go away, I think. You know, it's kind of amazing they didn't release it on PC at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to happen, I think, especially with the Square Enix president changing recently. He's not specifically said it, but you're seeing a lot of suggestion from them that that's the direction they're going to go in, and that's what they need to do, right? I mean, your Capcoms and your Segas. When was the last time Capcom or Sega did a platform exclusive?
Yeah,
and then even when they did, like, when did it not come out on PC?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that doesn't happen. Part of their business plan, the way this is sustainable, is that they release everything on everything.
Yeah.
And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I mean, I'm sure it was a big hit, but it would have been a massive hit, right, if it was on everything. I mean, I know huge Final Fantasy fans that cannot wait for that game that still didn't buy it because they don't have a PS5.
Yeah. It's a weird situation. Like, you wonder if that figures into how much money Sony's given them for that, because they have to.
Of course it will. Yeah, 100%.
And also, Final Fantasy VII Remake came out in April 2020 when buying games suddenly became the thing to do.
I mean, I think it was from memory, it was one of the very first, like right next to Animal Crossing, where they started shipping copies early because they didn't know whether the trucks would even get there.
Yeah.
That was
good times.
Good to the glory days.
Weird situation. Like when they delayed The Last of Us Part 2 for like 2 months, but then sent it to reviewers like 2 months early, so we got to play that game in the most relaxed setting possible. I'm convinced that factored into how well that game reviewed, because people could play it like they just bought it, like play a bit of it every night. Well, I suppose you weren't really doing anything otherwise, so weird times. I could pure go another pandemic. I'm absolutely sick of this. Sick of going out the house. Sick of constantly going to Morrison's and spending 50 quid on like a loaf of bread. Yeah. No, I'm not buying Monster and Morrison's because they actually charge what it's worth. When we come back, we will have a discussion about what game developers we would tip after finishing one of their games. We will talk about Keanu Reeves, and we will talk about PlayStation's new Puma collaboration. See you in a minute. And we are back. Blizzard's former boss, Mike Ybarra, has tweeted that he thinks that you should be able to tip a developer after completing an especially great game. Quote, I've often thought I wish I could give these folks $10 or $20 because that was worth more than my initial 70, and didn't try to nickel and dime me every second. To be fair to Mike, he did say most will dislike this idea. Chris, you ever felt this way about a game?
Not a $70 game. I think there's been plenty of nickels and dimes go into a $70 price point. I get what he's saying. I just don't necessarily think applying it to $70 games is the most popular way of putting it. I get it for like a $10 indie game, and you think, actually, I had more fun playing that.
Me and Andy are going to have the same answer, and it is a game that is roughly that price.
I know exactly what one you're going to say, but like if I'm playing like a $10 or $15 game and go, that was actually really good, that I've enjoyed that more than most quote full price games. I wouldn't be averse to chucking a few more quid at them like at the end of it. But a $70 game, you kind of would hope that a game with a budget that big is paying its staff well enough that we don't have to be tipping them. Like it'd be a bit cheeky of an Activision or a Ubisoft to say, could you help us out at the end of this and just maybe pay the developers a wee bit more money? So,
Yeah,
here,
I think framing it as a tip is a you instantly get like a what do you mean kind of reaction to it, but like, so the game I was referring to is very likely VGC Game of the Year 2024 Balatro, in the sense that, first of all, I didn't pay for that game. Lucy James, shout out, gave me a code for it, but I have played 120 hours of that game. See if they put out like a $5 pack that was like, here's 100 new Jokers and like one new deck, I would buy that instantly. Same with all the Vampire Survivors DLC. I've bought that on like multiple platforms because I'm like, this game is just excellent. Someone suggested if you feel that way, you can like gift it on Steam and stuff like that, so you've bought the game twice. But the price of games is such that I can't imagine there'll be people in too many positions, perhaps other than those with like a Blizzard pension, that can spend $70 and then go, I'd love to give you more money for nothing, you know?
It's also just like a just as a mental image. Like I can't imagine when an indie game is made by like a small group of people, you can imagine them getting the tip and the money going to them. When it's a $70 game that's been made by hundreds and hundreds of people, you can't imagine your $5 or $10 tip being distributed amongst a large number of people. So just in my head, it doesn't sound like
I mean, in a world where a company like Take-Two, you know, pays tens of millions to their leadership team in bonuses, and then fires 5% of the company to save, you know, about 100 million a year. No one trusts. There's no trust whatsoever. I wouldn't do that in a million years. Here you go, I tip these guys. No, that's going to like Strauss Zelnick's coffee fund, right? He's like Crystal Panther fund. Not in a million years.
Yeah.
Indie games, yes. I mean, I agree with everything you said. It's I see the sentiment, but no, that's not going to work. Like, you know, really, what we need for these lovely people making video games is stronger unionization, so they can't have the piss taken out of them. You know, a lot of this stuff that happens in games would never happen in films, and that's partly because they have very, very strong unions.
Yeah. Indie developers listening to this, put a wee PayPal or coffee dot whatever it is link at the end of the credits of your game, just in case. But other than that, that's as far.
But yeah, Balatro, 100%. I'd send that guy my car.
Have you? What's the situation? I've beat it on all decks but one. What's the situation with your Balatro?
I don't even know where I am. I don't know. I'm on like the. I don't know. I can't remember. I've not played it for a little while.
The only deck I still need to complete is the one that has no face cards.
Yeah, you're well ahead of me, mate. Well ahead. I don't think I've done one deck.
Mate, I was playing like 4 hours. I couldn't go to sleep without playing like hours and hours of it, to the point where Laura was like, you need to turn the brightness down because it's like illuminating the house. Like there's just like this.
I've only just realised that you can you can drag cards around.
Oh mate!
So imagine how my scores have gone up. So obviously a lot of the Jokers where they score like the first scored face card and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, that's annoying because the face cards are always on the left. No, you can move them. Yeah.
Anyway,
you know you can move the Jokers about as well.
Deep Balatro talk here.
I got a code for it, but I deliberately haven't started. I've seen both your lives falling apart, and I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that.
It's so good. It's one of the best like puzzle games of that genre.
Do you know what? There's going to be a generation of gamers who are really good at poker now. Bosh, just boshing hands out.
You lose all your money, and you're like, "Where's the Joker that doubles my score?" Oh, what a game! It's very, very good. It picks exactly the as soon as that's out on phones, my flying life is never going to be the same again. Like,
imagine if they actually put a gambling machine version into casinos.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there.
They're bringing some legislation for that.
The Robinson Act when you lose all your money. Okay. Quick one. It looks like Keanu Reeves is going to voice Shadow in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Andy, is this a good choice? I have very biased opinions about
That's
Sonic.
That's a good choice, yeah.
Mm.
You didn't sound good, but
yeah, that's exactly what Shadow the Hedgehog needs to sound like.
Marge Simpson.
Have you heard Marge's voice in a modern episode of The Simpsons?
Has it changed?
God love her.
Well, the first mistake you've made is watching a modern episode of The
No,
Simpsons.
no, I know. I only saw this because someone pointed out.
But that's
Julie
her voice,
Cabanagh. But this is the problem. She's now an old woman and she's been doing the Marge voice for 30 years. So she sounds like Jacqueline McCafferty. She's like, Homer, get out of there. What you doing? Why are you in the back door having a beer? It's like, it's really, really disconcerting. Dan still sounds like Homer. I mean, that's all you really need.
But he doesn't sound like season 1 Homer, does he? Sorry, Gen 1.
I'm a Simpsons Gen 1er. I only watched the Tracy Ullman show stuff.
Once they got Santa's Little Helper, I stopped watching it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure your woman that plays Bart's like a mad Scientologist.
I get awkward when I watch videos of her. I think it's Charles Martinet times 100, where she will do the voice at the drop of a feather without anyone asking.
She's looking at people in the airport.
Have you seen the video? Have you seen the video of her confronting some like teenager? Like and then doing the Bart Simpson voice, and he's just looking at her as if to say, what the fuck, what are you? And then she does it again, and he's kind of like, oh yeah, it's Bart Simpson. And she's like, it's like proper Ricky Gervais style. Did the voice
properly like gardening.
It's like cringing, like corkscrewing a cringe hole right into the pavement. It's I get it because that's her gimmick. Not her gimmick. That's what has put probably a large roof over her house. But yeah, it's just like I always felt kind of awkward when Martin did the Mario voice unprompted as well. It's like I get it. You think people are being happy when you do that, but you don't need to do it, mate. You're fine. Although I suppose you do it now.
I know he's legally not allowed to. The opposite of this is Veronica Taylor, who played Ash in the original anime before they changed it. She doesn't do it constantly, like. But if you're like asking her nice to her, she'll like break it out. But she just talks normally, and it's like that's.
But she not do it a lot on Twitter now.
Oh, maybe she's probably on like Cameo and stuff, like like Nigel Farage when he started saying like "up the ra" and all that on Cameo.
They're all on Cameo now. All the cool kids. Cameo. There's so many YouTubers in Cameo that are charging like £3.
I think I said this on the podcast once, but when I was at the BBC, they offered loads of us to go on Cameo, and I was like, first of all, nobody's going to want that, and second of all, we're not allowed. So
we should set up a Cameo for the one person who wants a VGC message on Cameo. The
amount of money I would spend just to get you to say stuff would be well worth it.
Just libeling everyone.
Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Swing your bra. Really excited.
I've got a lot of time. It sounds like you'd have a lot of time for Keanu Reeves based on your growing.
Oh, he's a shit actor and always has been.
He's a good guy. He was good in Bill and Ted.
I don't care if he's a good guy. He's
below Shadow the Hedgehog. Fuck me.
Shadow the Hedgehog is exactly his level.
Right. So what's the issue?
See these deluded bastards that were like, oh, he was so good as Johnny Silverhand. First of all, he was in the game for about 2 minutes.
Never mind that.
Second of all, he was just like, yeah, this town's full of cyber shit. And then you'd see him for 5 hours. It's like, cheers, mate.
You're talking about the star of Speed, one of the most scintillating action movies ever created.
Never seen it. Not interested.
You've only seen Speed 2, Cruise Control, aka the one on the boat, which is significantly less troublesome than being on a bus because it's just loads of water.
When I eventually saw The Matrix, I was like, okay, this makes sense. As like he makes sense in the context of The Matrix, but that should have been it. He should have been like your man that played Elliot in E.T. He was never in anything again. He should have just stayed.
The thing is, he is himself in every film. And that works in films like Constantine, The Matrix, John Wick, because that's all the kind of same character, basically. Bill and Ted I've got a soft spot for, even though when you watch Bill and Ted, it's actually awful.
I agree. I like
he was
Bill
good
and
in
Ted.
Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is me going through Keanu Reeves' filmography now. The Watcher, was that a Keanu Reeves film? I don't know. It doesn't.
Mate, you're speaking to somebody that's seen about 3 films in their lifetime.
Well, that's on you.
Have you seen Wonka? Wonka's
I've
good.
got no time for that. If it's Gene Wilder isn't in it, he can whistle. I'm not interested.
He can whistle pure imagination. They can whistle a tune, that Timothy Chalamet. Timothy Chalamet shot is like quickly becoming one of my favourite actors.
I've never seen a
Dune
Chalamet
2,
film.
brilliant. Wonka, also brilliant.
I've never seen a Chalamet film. I never will.
Really?
No.
You not seen Little Women?
I've not the film, no. I've read the book.
Of course, all women look little to you because you need to stay that far away from them.
It's because I'm a large figure. I haven't seen the motion picture adaptation of Little Women, though. To your point, neither have I seen Dune or Dune 2, or Wonka or any other Chalamet film for that matter.
Dune.
And there's a
everywhere
cinema
else.
in Glasgow that's got like it's underground. It's in a basement of a shopping centre, and they had a wee thing outside it saying Dune Stairs. They were showing Dune. That's quite clever. I'm still not seeing it, but fair play.
I think it's literally out to rent now.
Is it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's out. Came out this week, I think.
I'm going to watch it on my phone like Denis Villeneuve always wanted me to.
He did a good Blade Runner film, to be fair to him. Big Denny.
Did he do the second one?
He did, didn't he?
He's never made a bad film.
I've only seen one, and it was good. So
He also made Wonka, great film. No, the Donnie that made Wonka made Paddington, another banger. So
not seen Paddington.
Surely
either.
you've seen Paddington.
No.
You've got Wayne's.
I know, but all she watches is fucking trolls. Like trolls so constantly. We watched one episode of Bluey recently, and that was good. I'll happily watch more.
I think Bluey's
more
quite
Bluey,
funny.
but she's not into that yet. It's just trolls.
Yeah.
Which is devastating.
PlayStation have teamed up with Puma for some trainers. I think they look fine, but there's been better PlayStation trainers in the past. However, the question is, Chris, I think I know the answer to this. Do you own any of these fashion collabs? And to be clear, this isn't just like I'm wearing PlayStation trackies right now that I got in Asda for about £5. I'm talking about the more high end stuff.
You're talking to a man who's currently wearing the official St. Patrick's Day Atari t-shirt, which was released on St. Patrick's Day and therefore didn't turn up until Easter. By the time you order it, they've done better PlayStation shoes. There have been better Puma shoes, and I have props here. I wore the arse out of the Sonic the Hedgehog Pumas.
Okay, they look nice.
Ring design on the back, and they're very worn out now. I also bought the most comfortable shoes I've ever owned. They look a bit garish. A company called Lavair, who I'd never heard of before, did Mega Drive shoes, but they were charging £200 for them, and I just said no, and so did everybody else, and so eventually they went down to £50, and that's when I bought them.
Nice.
And these are exceptionally comfortable shoes. They've got a kind of Mega Drive theme. They are like walking on air. They're very comfortable, but buy them at a heavy discount because they're expensive. And then obviously when Vans brought out all the Nintendo ones, they just kind of rinsed all of those as well.
So I'm at a disadvantage here because most of these collaborations don't go up to I have size 14 feet, like I'm the fucking Undertaker. So there's very little options when it comes to shoes for me. However, when they do the basketball collaborations like PlayStation did with Paul George, I got those. So I have the PlayStation 1 colored like ones that have like a PlayStation logo. Most uncomfortable shoes I own by a mile. How anyone could play basketball in them is a mystery, but I own that. We talked about it before the show, but I have like the Alan Wake collection that they did with that Finnish brand. It was bloody ludicrously expensive, but we move. But that's kind of it. I don't own any of the mad expensive Pokemon gear as much as I'd like it. That's always, first of all, it's always hundreds and hundreds of pounds and sells out instantly, so there's no chance of getting it. And secondly, as so many of these things just do like small, medium, large, XL, and it's like I'm no fucking with that. Come on, now. And I like a t-shirt with a bit of room to breathe. Andy, you get any of this gear?
I get the fine ukulele I Am 8-bit line.
Surely you get that for free as the ambassador for.
True story, actually. We shipped a ton of them over to GDC, and we were going to give them out, and we gave them to like people like Tim Schafer and so encourage them. And then we were told at the last minute from across the pond, like, oh yeah, we don't want to announce it yet. So please ask all the people you've given them to, including Tim Schafer, not to wear them.
Jesus.
Fuck's sake. I don't wear a lot of game stuff. I wear edit mode stuff. I'm writing a piece about them at the moment, actually. They're a Japanese company. I don't know how many people know about them, but they've been going for like 20 odd years, and they make the official Nintendo t-shirts, and they always have done.
Their stuff is fantastic.
So whenever you see like Mr. Aonuma or Mr. Miyamoto wearing game t-shirts, they're made by a small Kyoto kind of boutique called Edit Mode.
Yeah.
And if you go to any of the Japanese shows, like they'll always be there selling stuff. I don't think it's particularly easy to get them outside of Japan, even online.
It used to be like in the very early O&M days. I used to buy them because I think they called the line the King of Games at the time. And at the time it was.
And that's what you call yourself unofficially.
I was almost thought about suing them for gimmick infringement. But even back then, when the exchange rate was very much in our favour, they were still extremely expensive shirts. I only recently bought one when I was in Japan because I didn't have to pay shipping. They're insanely good t-shirts.
I'm looking at them now. The website is very cool. They have like a Famicom Pro Wrestling one that says like Strong Style on it, and I'm going to see what's it going to be to ship to the UK. £50,000.
Yeah, it won't be cheap. But they're high quality.
Yeah, just don't ever wash them.
Yeah,
does it all break up?
No, they just shrink it.
Yeah, you've got to hand wash these things,
yeah.
Otherwise they're shrinking.
Treat it like a baby. Hand wash it. don't put it in the washing machine. Hand wash it.
We've all been there.
Okay, hey. Excellent. A very, very high quality apparel.
The vast majority of so when we go to these events and stuff like that, you get thrown t-shirts and hoodies like it's going out of fashion. The one that I wear constantly is I have a Marvel's Midnight Suns hoodie that they gave us that they can't legally reproduce because it has like copyright infringement on it. And Jake Solomon was like, we're not going to make these, we're just giving them to you guys and we're going to have them in here. I wear that all the time. So it's like an Under Armour hoodie, like the base of it, so it's comfy.
Why is it copyright infringement when they're just not allowed to make them? Or it's like Batman on it by mistake.
It's the four main characters of Midnight Suns in the style of Demon Days by the Gorillas. The artwork. So they're like, we're never going to get to actually sell
even though
these.
It's parody, they could have probably got away with it.
Yeah, Marvel, mate. Marvel issues. So I wear that. But yeah, the majority of my t-shirts either go to Laura or they go to my dad. So my dad does the gardening in a Dishonored 2 Worldwide Review t-shirt like every single day. And it's like people are going to see that and think you're just some like Arcane head, like you're one of these games journalists that's absolutely obsessed with Arcane. Also, a few years ago when Take-Two or 2K were clearing out their UK warehouse of what was described to me as random crap, it all turned up at my house. So my mum walks the dog in a Tiny Tina's Wonderlands hoodie, and I'm begging for the day that someone asks her what she thinks about it. But that's pretty much it. And that's pretty much it for this week's episode. You can send any comments, questions, and concerns to podcast at videogameschronicle.com.
Especially concerns.
If you have any thoughts on how to properly wash your infant children, what you think of Monster Reserve,
where to get an Agrabah passport.
Where to get an Agrabah passport. We covered all the important stuff.
Just the book, though. I'm not interested in the film.
Yeah. You can send it to podcast at videogameschronicle.com. What we got going on this week? Oh, I went to a WoW event. That was fun. There's loads of coverage on the site. Go and check that out. Saw some lovely people, etc. and so on. They had a big sword. I held the big sword. And then I went to the event. Oh, hey! But yeah, that was fun. I'm pretty sure everything I'm working on I can't talk about until next week. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I'm juggling two things. One I can't talk about. The other I can talk about next.
Makes riveting a podcast.
The one
I'm also working on something.
The one I can talk about next week I've previously ranted about, and I will be creating more footage of it in a similar way to annoy the people that moaned about it previously. So yeah, that's that one. So more about that next week. So get your rackets ready.
You could say you're sitting on quite a lot of information about this game.
You could indeed.
Andy, what are you up to?
Yeah, playing a game I can't talk about. Yeah, that's about it, really.
You get football this
the
weekend?
Mystery Squad.
You get football tonight, don't you?
Yeah, we're gonna end a free 1-4 years in Europe tonight. I'm probably just gonna stay in the bar, to be honest.
Start fights with any Germans that walk by.
Yeah, well, no, it was actually I was in Leverkusen last week. This is Leverkusen versus West Ham for anyone who doesn't know, and I was actually very surprised. It was like playing like a even milder Fulham. Like even they scored in like the last minute, right? And they like usually they all take the piss out of the away fans, right? Nope, they're just having a good living in the moment, having a good time. Just like the mildest fans ever.
That's nice. That's nice to hear.
Yeah. No one was set on fire.
That's a good thing, though. I mean, do you prefer a bit of spice to your away trips?
If that's football, though, right? Yeah. That is. If everyone went to football and like clapped their hands and shook hands with the away fans and had a jolly good time, it would be a bit sterile, wasn't it? I mean, everyone always talks about rugby, and I've got a lot of respect for rugby, but we can all sit amongst each other. That sounds rubbish.
Yeah.
If there's a man next to me, I want there to be a massive fight. That's you're what?
I agree. I like my football steeped in religious hatred. Generational religious hatred. Mind the gap. Anyway, thanks for listening to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Jordan Midler, at Skelly88, at Andy_VGC. Thanks to Grant Kirkhope for the VGC podcast theme. Say goodbye, Andy.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Chris.
Bye, Chris. Mona Dundee.
Mon Ross County, and we'll see you later.